Hey guys, happy Saturday. That's Team Spitfire. We got Josh, the team's event manager here, and he got first place at a charity locals today with Ishizu Tearlaments.
Pretty standard list. 41 today. Not very much variation from what you typically see in a Ishizu tier. But first place this weekend at the charity locals, played Bestial Sprite round 1. I played Striker round 2, pure going second Striker. And then round 3 was the mirror match. And last weekend, I went 4-1 at a statue tournament at Through the Decades in Louisville. Played the mirror match round 1. Played B Trooper round 2. Super cool. Played Bestial Sprite round 3. Was my only loss for the day to the guy who ended up winning the whole tournament. And then Runic Mine round 4. Super glad mine's out of the format. Ready for that card to have been gone a long time ago. And then round 5, I played the mirror match again.
How have your mirror matches been?
In the probably month that I've been playing mirror matches, I have only lost 2 mirror matches. So I love playing the mirror match. It's probably one of the more fun things I've ever done in Yu-Gi-Oh! Weirdly. I understand why you probably wouldn't enjoy it, though, from an outside looking in. But I really enjoy it. I think the tier cards are the best part of this deck, honestly. The Ishizu cards could get banned tomorrow, and I would probably still play a variation of this deck.
How's your matchup against the Bestial Sprite deck?
The Bestial Sprite deck, if it's built correctly, is a very, very hard matchup. Just the Sprite cards give you so much generic value just right off the rip that it's kind of hard to immediately contend with it unless you've drawn Havanus or you've drawn your own Bestial stuff or you've drawn Shufflers, because that deck does have kind of a hard time dealing with Shufflers on the crackback. But overall it's fine. I mean, it's Sprite. It does 3 things, and that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, let's get on into it.
So for the tiers, pretty standard ratio. Just play 2 Rhino Heart, 3 Sheeran, 3 Merly, 3 Havanus. I've seen lists going up to 3 of this, and I understand, but those lists are usually playing more than 1 Scream, and I'm only playing the 1 Scream, as you'll see, just because you want to always usually guarantee the mill of this card, and it's super good making Dweller. But I've never wanted to play more than 2 of this card. There were actually times where I really kind of wanted to cut it down, but just with how much you mill and how much you can see it now, it's just correct to play 2.
Okay.
So that's those. We'll move on to the Ishizu cards next. I'm playing 3 Kelbeck, 3 Keldo, 3 Medora, and I am playing the 1 Nagito and the 1 Orange Light. If I would build this, I would change anything in this list. I would cut these, and I would cut a Kelbeck, and I would play Valor in the main. I think Valor is probably one of the best cards in the game right now. Just being able to hit the Kiklos, being able to hit any of the Flunder names, being able to hit Gigantic. Valor does so much generically, and this card isn't. Raphael Nevin really did say it best when he said this isn't a real hand trap. It's not. It is a mill card that you don't want to hit in the mirror when you're going first. My opponent today in the mirror match, he milled an Agito, and he chose to activate it, and I milled Sheeran, Havanus, and Rhino Heart and Scream. So
Damn.
I went +4 on a card that I shouldn't have never gotten to plus off of. Plus, this is definitely not a real hand trap. It literally does nothing going first or second. And this is just so unreliable that there's just no reason to play it. This is the reason you play this engine. These 6 cards right here, the Keldos and the Medoras. This is the reason that this deck is tier 1. There's no different way to say it. These cards being able to hit, striker spells in the graveyard, being able to hit Sword Soul, Tinnies in the grave to blank Vishuddhas and Ashanas, being able to, hit Dino resources even. It's just stuff just does so much that it is so oppressive that it just locks anybody out of the game if you're not immediately prepared to deal with this. And with Yu-Gi-Oh! Just being 90% just graveyard focused decks, this is the reason to play this engine. This card I think is just not that good. I honestly have been considering cutting it down to 1 just because of how often you do not want to see it.
What would you replace it with?
Probably Bell. I found myself really wanting Bell today. Just generically a lot against so much stuff. I think the card's really, really, really good right now.
Would you consider DD Crow or just...
Crow is okay. The only reason you would play Crow over Bell is the fact that Crow isn't once per turn. So it's one of the two. And I think maybe Bell just being able to stop shufflers and stop Bystials is a little bit better. Because being able, like, crowing a Bystial is not, like, a Bystial target is not as good as like belling one. But yeah, that's the change I would make. I'd cut this, and I probably would cut these 3 and put in Valor, just because I think Valor is really good right now. But overall, they function really well. I did get to do this today against, I think in my mirror match, I got to do it with a Medora, and that's just so backbreaking. It's amazing.
So it's just not really... Playing the orange light really even worth it anymore at this point?
So, yes and no. If you want to play like a more heavy ratio, being able to almost always guarantee this being online is really good. And going second, it's just something extra to do. Hitting a shifter is really good, but you can't search it. There's no way to find it anywhere.
You just basically have to draw it.
You have to draw it. You have to draw it, and just being one of isn't really important. I have been seeing a lot of lists though that play the 1 orange light, a green light, and a Nagito, and I may test that just to see to beat Dark Ruler if it weirdly shows up. I also considered playing it to beat D-Fissure, because there's a weird D-Fissure Unga Bunga deck that runs around our locals, and the Dark World field spell, or the Dark World fusion spell, that card is fucking amazing. So being to hit that is really, really, really good. Other than that, that's those. And then I went kind of nutso on it today. I went with the full Bystial package.
So 3 of each.
3 of each, 3 Magnemite, 3 Druis Worm, 3 Sarnor. If I would change anything about this package, I would cut 1 Sarnor. That would be the only thing that I would do. Other than that, I love seeing these cards all day long. They're amazing. They help you push in for damage. Making Beatrice is pretty cracked. And Wolo is really, really, really good. And not just the mirror, but just in so much stuff. Plus, with everybody playing Bystials right now, being able to dark back a Magnemite and still be able to trigger it to search one of these just for free value is so amazing. But yeah, the 9 is okay. I would understand why you would play 9, but I would probably cut just the 1 Zaranor if I was trying to play Bell and just to look for room. But 9 is fine. You could play 9. You can play 8. It's just a preference.
Did Saraner's second effect ever come up today?
No, I thought about doing it after I had done a Medora and the mirror match. I linked off my Sarnor for a dark, and I thought about triggering it just to put another dark in the graveyard, because I had 2 Bystials still in name, so I would have targets for it. But it's just the one weird niche situation that has ever come up in any type of testing of this card.
Okay.
We'll move on to spells. Obviously, played the 3 best field spell that this deck has right now.
Best in the format.
Right, this is the best field spell in the format. I mean, Necro Valley is pretty good field spell too.
True.
But in terms of engine field spells, this is probably the best field spell you get right now. I just not only being able to pop a card, the search, but people really, really don't. They really underestimate that plus 500. That is kind of backbreaking, especially if you're going, you've already cracked the board open and you're going into turn 3 or turn 4 like this deck and this format tends to do. Being able to make your dudes, go from just 3K to 35, that just is, sometimes is the difference between not having game and having game immediately.
Yeah, that's one thing that all people seem to forget, even some of the own tier players that
Right.
activate the spell.
I had, especially in the mirror match day, I triggered the pop effect on my opponent's turn, and he didn't trigger it because he didn't know that he could trigger it at this either. He didn't even know that card did that. So yeah, this card's crazy. Playing one heartbeat just to out weird back row, plus the value you get off this card for doing it is insane. Playing one scream.
Would you upscream to anything, or just keep it to one?
If I'm probably gonna cut this Arnor and make it a scream. I did miss playing the second one today. I wanted to see it more often than I did. And I do actually really like milling this card because the traps are they give you so much value plus the negation that it just does a lot. So I probably would up the scream to 2. You could, even if you just wanted to play this list and add a scream, that's fine just because of how much you mill. It wouldn't hurt the ratio very much, but I would probably cut a Sarnor and play another scream. 1 is fine though if you just want to play 1. And then for obviously the power 1-ofs, 1 terraforming, 1 instant fusion,
The fourth
1
copy
call by.
of...
This card should be banned. I don't know why it's not banned. That card's not fair in the mirror match, and it's not fair in a lot of things. Like being able to I got to called by a Ray today, and he tried to get out of the grave somehow, and I got to bestial it in response. So that's crazy. This plus a bestial puts on so much pressure, and this card in the mirror match is kind of gross too, because being able to turn off tier names for 2 turns is very, very impressive. And then that's all the spells that we're playing. Just really, really, really small spell count.
Does Caldwell still seem that powerful with the shufflers in the format now?
No, but they've got to have it. And it really is. You've got to have the shuffler now, or this card's gonna go crazy. I've seen a lot of people move this to the side. I don't. If you're gonna side it, I think you should just cut it anyways. I could see cutting this card, but also with random rogue running around that still do play hand traps, being able to just sack this off something and hit an Ash, hit a Veiler, hit a Bell, hit a Crow, hit a Meister, anything like that is really, really, really good. And with the shufflers too, you can shuffle this back, so this becomes a multiple use spell that is already oppressive. So I like call by even with the shuffler still in the format.
Okay.
And then obviously just playing the 1-ofs. I wouldn't play anymore. I didn't really want to see them any more than I did. Nothing really to say about it. This card's really, really, really good. I can't believe that there was a time where Tearlament players said that you should be playing Meta Noise instead. And it's just so funny. But yeah, just the 2s. And we'll go to the extra deck. Pretty standard, just 1 Kikolos, 1 Rukolos, 1 Kaleido, and then, just the 3 generic fusions. Second Kikolos never came up today. I've been seeing some of us try the second Kikolos, especially since it was standard when the deck first started getting played. Just never really came up. Maybe with the Kashtira stuff coming out, maybe it becomes necessary to play another Kikolos, especially with when Unicorn starts running around the format a little bit more. But just for now, probably 1. And then Xyz playing the 1 Dweller, the 1 Baguska, the Redoer, the Beatrice. This is the most crap card in my entire extra deck. The Wolo didn't make this card today, but I probably won't cut it. I understand why it's in here, and I know why you play it. Just being able to spot shuffle back a tier name is the same. It's just another Bestial. After you've used them on the field, being able to turn them back into themselves again pretty much is really cool. Didn't make it at all days, didn't come up, but I will still probably continue to play it. And the 1 Zeus. This card I go back and forth on because it triggers tier names. So if it's in the mirror match, you generically most of the time want to make this card just to clear up the board and make your plays easier, but you can't do that in the mirror match, and you're going to be playing the mirror match more often than not. So you can't really make this card, but I think it's fine. You make it when the board isn't tier, I guess. I don't know. That doesn't really make sense, but you could. I could see cutting this card. I don't know what I would play in its place. I really don't. But you could cut this card just for
maybe the second kit.
Maybe just for another utility for Hani posted a list that was playing Dagaris, and I thought that was a really cool tech because you pitch the tier names off the discard for effect, so that it triggers their names, and you get to go plus a little later. So maybe you could play that, but just having this for Rogue is also really important. And like Sprite can't really deal with this card if you get to make it against them, and just their board really doesn't do nothing. It's pretty much have red, or Smashers doesn't really even deal with this card. Double Cross doesn't really deal with the card. Red doesn't really deal with the card. Draco Slayer has kind of a hard time against this card. Not really, but it comes up if you can wipe their scales and their board pretty much, because just how much that deck has to commit in the beginning. That deck is really good at resource management anyways, so it's kind of hard. You could cut it for the second kit, and I wouldn't really say anything like weird about it, but for now I think it just has to stay. And then just the 3 pretty standard XCs, the 1 Spren, the 1 Elf, and the 1 Dark. This is the MVP card of today. Getting to take Magnamuts all day was really, really, really fun.
How's the sprint going?
Sprint is really good in situations where you just somehow have not got access to Merly, which is weird. I made it today, but you don't always make it, but it is a mandatory card. I would never cut this card. Also being able to take a material off of just a random XCs that you have laying around and just to pop something is really good sometimes, but that has never come up, and I don't think it probably ever will, but just having that option is there. And then we'll go to the side. Side is not traditional, I don't think. Haven't looked at a lot of sides. I was just trying something different today. I played 3 Valor. I think this card should go to the main. I think this is the best card in the format hand trap wise right now besides the Bestial. Just being able to blank so much stuff is amazing. It does so much. Being a light for Bestials too is really awesome. This card's definitely probably going to end up going to the main. Tried out 3 Fenrir in the side today. I picked them up right before the event. I got just a good deal on them. And decided to play it in the side just to see it. I didn't ever think I would actually draw it. And then in my striker match, I drew it game 2 when I got to go first. And I'm pretty sure this is the reason that I won that game. I don't think that deck has a very convincing out to Fenrir. Definitely going to test with this card a little bit more. I think it's, really, really, really good. I don't know if it's that good in the mirror. I didn't use it in the mirror. Definitely only side this card in going first, because the theory of the whole entire deck is Haviness and being able to do stuff on your opponent's turn, so it's not very live going second. So you probably just only want to do it going first, but I liked this card a lot today when I drew it.
Any thoughts of putting it in the main?
No, just because of what the deck actually does, you can't do it. So yes, if you win the dice roll and you draw it, you can summon it. But if you lose the dice roll or you have to interact, this card automatically turns itself off. So if you go second and you draw this plus Haviness, you have to make a decision whether or not you want to Haviness or you want to have a Fenrir alive.
Okay.
And then I played the Scatter Shot for time. Didn't go into time today, thank God. Hate time rolls. Played the 1 Necro Banshee. Didn't play Flu today. Hate birds. That's all the monsters. We're playing the 1 Heartbeat just for weird back row decks that may still run themselves around. And 3 talents, side this in going first most of the time, just because you're pretty much always guaranteed an interaction. And if it's tier, and you usually side in going second because the board is made. Had this in the main for a while. I was testing it in the main. but me and our team captain Alex Llewellyn decided that like this card isn't always alive. You can't guarantee it, but if you're going second, you can guarantee it, and if it's the tier match, you most of the time can guarantee it going first. So it's better once you have knowledge to put it in instead of just blind hoping that it's live. And then the 3 zombie world to go with the Necroworld Banshee. I think instead, if I was changing anything from the side, I probably would cut the heartbeat. Just because I don't think there's going to be a ton of just random monkey running around this format. You could say there is, and maybe you should leave this. But I think I would cut this for a set rotation, and I would make this 2-2, and then the set rotation, just because of how bad this deck performs, in the Flunder matchup. It is almost unwinnable if they just draw the correct cards, and you could just say that about anything, but especially that deck, if it draws really well, you can't really beat it. But overall, deck performed really well. Like I said, just a few minor changes of just the way the format's going. Again, really shout out to Big Bang, weirdly enough, for a really cool event today. Glad that we get to do that for charity every now and then. Shout out to TTD last weekend for hosting that really cool event. They didn't even tell us that it was a statue event until we were there, which was really cool. Shout out to everybody on Team Spitfire for helping test and really build this deck and make it what it is. And that's it.
All right.